Hello and welcome. I am DEJI360. President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday presented the 27.5 trillion naira budget estimates now for the 2024 fiscal year to a joint session of the National Assembly for consideration and approval. Tagged Budget of Renewed Hope, the 2024 budget is higher than that of 2023, which was 24.82 trillion naira. The budget deficit is projected at 9.18 trillion naira. Tinubu said the deficit will be financed by new borrowings totaling 7.83 trillion naira, 298.49 billion naira from privatization proceeds, and 1.05 trillion naira drawdown now on multilateral and bilateral loans secured for specific development projects. Presenting a breakdown of the budget proposal, Minister of Budget and Economic Planning Atiku Bagudu said a significant allocation of 2.18 trillion naira of the budget had been provided for education, which is higher than the 1.7 trillion naira allocation in the 2023 budget. Defense got 3.25 trillion naira, covering the military, police, intelligence, and paramilitary. The health sector was allocated 1.33 trillion naira, with 1.07 trillion naira of the amount going for capital and recurrent of the Federal Ministry of Health and its agencies. Now, 1.32 trillion naira was allocated for infrastructure, including provision for works, housing, and power. Bagudu further revealed that besides the 10 billion naira earlier approved for the student loan fund in the 2.17 trillion naira supplementary budget, another 50 billion naira had been provided for the fund in the 2024 appropriation. Also, the budget proposal is predicated on $750 per dollar now exchange rate, an oil benchmark of $77 per barrel, and of course, an oil production volume of 1.78 million barrels per day. The GDP growth rate now is projected at 3.76%, and inflation rate at 21.4%.
Today, I stand before you to present our budget of renewed hope, a budget which will go further than ever before in cementing macroeconomic stability, reducing the deficit, increasing capital spending, and allocation to reflect the 8 priority areas of this administration. The budget we now present constitutes a foundation upon which we shall erect the future of this great nation. The distinguished senators, honorable members, despite the global headwind, the Nigerian economy has proven resilient, maintaining moderate but positive growth over the past 12 months. Inflation has trended upward, yes, due to the weak global conditions. To contain this rising domestic prices, we will ensure effective coordination of fiscal and monetary policy measures and collaborate with subnational governments to address structural factors driving inflation in Nigeria. The budget proposal meets our goal of completing critical infrastructure projects, which will help address structural problems in the economy by lowering the cost of doing business for companies and the cost of living for average person. The proposed budget seeks to achieve job-rich economic growth, macroeconomic stability, a better investment environment, enhance human capital development, as well as poverty reduction and greater access to social security. Defense and internal security are recorded top priority. The internal security architecture will be overhauled to enhance law enforcement capabilities and safeguard lives, property, and investment across the country. Human capital is the most critical resource of national development. Accordingly, the budget prioritizes human development with particular attention to children, the foundation of our nation. We are committed to improving the lot of our people and delivering on our promises to them. The 2024 budget has the potential to boost performance, promote the development of macro, micro, and small and medium-sized enterprises, enhance security and public safety, and improve general living conditions of our people. We have not considered great opportunity coming from mineral, solid mineral, and other areas. But I promise you that the recovery is here. It is in your hands to thoroughly look into the situation, being sympathetic with the ordinary people out there who put their confidence on us and rest their hope with your and my family. In closing, I am confident that this budgetary allocation and directives will set Nigeria on transformative path towards a sustainable and resilient energy future, fostering growth economically, job creation, and environmental preservation.
Joining me now to discuss this further, I have Francis Ishedu, who is an economist. He joins us, of course, from Abuja. Also joining us from the United States of America is Kalu Aja, a financial analyst. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start by getting your general take on the budget. I'll start with you, Mr. Aja.
Invite. I think the good news is that it's presented on time. We're doing a budget in 2023 for 2024, so welcome development there. Big picture, it's a lot of spending. Hopefully, it will unlock consumption. Only risk I see there, really significant risk, is this oil production outlook of about 1.7. I think as I come out with a 1.5. Back into the weeds, but I would say big picture, we'll see. We don't have the details yet, but we'll see.
All right, we're still going to go into the details now. Mr. Shedu, let me get your own take now, your own general take on the budget.
All right. The budget, one of the highest so far. It's not very different from the other Nigerian budgets. We'll notice that budgets have been going up over time. But one good thing out of this budget is that the budget deficit was reduced from the previous year's figure. The previous year's figure was quite high. This year's figure is 9.18 trillion, which represents 3.886 of the GDP. Over time, we expect that the budget of Nigeria, though it has almost never happened, to get to a point where to be a surplus budget, but without possibility of this because of the borrowing level of the government. Well, we expect a lot from this budget. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, let me come to you now, Kalu. Let's look at the key benchmarks now. Of course, you talked about one, achieving 1.78 million barrels per day. Quite optimistic, just as you have said. But then you look at the other key benchmarks as well, like the oil price benchmark of $77 per barrel. As we speak today, oil is currently trading around, say, between 80 something dollars per barrel. So you look at the difference. It's so close. What do you make of that, as well as the exchange rate pegged at $750, 750 naira now to the dollar.
Yeah, I mean, with the terms of oil price, remember it was about 92 weeks or last. It's been coming down. It's really this high because Saudi Arabia and Russia are sort of like reducing supply. That's why you see the new OPEC targets reducing supply to keep the price level higher. So if you take away that Saudi intervention, it will actually go lower than what you're seeing to that 83. So it's weak right now. That's the point I'm trying to make. So in terms of our real focus now is on the output, the production, oil production numbers. We're at 1.73 planned, but the oil Niger Delta has not been quote unquote peaceful. I haven't really exported as much as we have loved to. To 2018, we're doing 2.2 million barrels a day. And if we don't export at least 2 million, we start to have problems. Because now it's a volume game. If the price falls, it's going to be a volume game. And our volumes right now from Niger Delta are reducing because of this oil threat. So we've got to really focus on the volume to get the volume up. That's what we can control. The prices, not so much. But again, OPEC has said Nigeria should reduce its output to 1.5, yes, to keep prices high. That tells you where we're going to the world. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, the 1.78 now that we have budgeted is lower than what OPEC is asking us to go down to. But what about the exchange rate of 750 naira to the dollar? What's your take on that?
I mean, that's going to be demand and supply, right? If we can get Forex into the country, the rate firms up. Right now, the rate is much, should we say, lower than what you get in real life in black market. Black market is in about 1,012. So this is a very, very optimistic rate that the Naira will strengthen. Why will this strengthen? Only if we export, only if we get remittances. Without these two, what's going to make Naira to strengthen? So it's going to come back to the ease of doing business and the remittances. Remittances is going to be the easiest way to get dollars in, or exports. And what we export really right now is crude oil. Non-oil exports are really, really weak. So it's a very, very simple game. Either you export more oil or you get more remittances and FDIs into the country. Without that, I don't see how we're looking at even $800, 800 naira to $1. We have to really be aggressive to get Forex in, not through debt, but through investment, through remittances, and through exports. Without that, this might be a tall dream.
Francis, you alluded to the budget deficit, 9.18 trillion naira. Of course, it's 3.88% of the GDP now. But you look at how much is voted for debt servicing. It's also come down. I mean, it's come down to 8.25 trillion naira, which is just 45% of total revenue. At some point in time in this country, even this year or probably last year, what we were voting for for debt servicing was close to 90% of the revenue we're making. But this time, we're seeing that come down now to 45% of total revenue. Do you think this is something we'll be able to maintain?
If the government is to maintain that level, a lot of work. And also, I would like to commend the government for reducing our budget servicing figures. But how will the government maintain that if we keep on borrowing? If you look at this budget, the budget deficit of 9.18 will be financed by multilateral and bilateral loans, totaling over 7.83 billion. So one of the things the government needs to do is to reduce its borrowing. But if you look at what's happening in recent times from the news, government is still borrowing. Even from this budget, a lot of borrowing is going to play out here. One of the things needs to do is to open up the economy. Dependence on oil is just too much. If you look at our budget, it's based on oil, proceeds from oil. When are we going to get to the point where we begin to do, let's even start with 50%. Let's begin to do 50% of our earnings from non-oil. Oil is going out of fashion. So very soon, in the next 30, 40, 50, a lot of European countries are talking of doing away with oil in terms of the type of cars they were producing. By 2030, Europe wants to do away with oil cars. So we need to find a way of getting out of our dependence on oil. We need to focus on FDIs. We need to focus on non-oil exports. We need to open the economy. We need to give manufacturing sector the leeway to blossom. The manufacturing sector is quite tight now for them. They can't get forex. Forex is so high, and that's why the inflation rate also is going up. The government says they want to increase. They want to reduce inflation rate to 21. I wonder how they're going to do that. Inflation rate currently is about 27. So for them to reduce it needs a lot of work. But as it is, from what I'm seeing the government doing and some of the policies, I don't see how they want to reduce the inflation rate and how they want to do away with debt, and also do the exchange rate to be better than what it is now. Like Carlos said, the exchange rate, I don't see it making this 700. It's almost impossible from there. In the black market, the parallel market is doing over 1,000 today. So how will the government bring it to 700? Even figures are telling us that even remittances from outside Nigeria is reducing. It's reducing. So we need to do a lot to rejig the economy.
Carlo, I would want your take on that, especially on the issue of inflation. From your own point of view, what do you think the government might be thinking? What is it seeing when it says it expects inflation to come down in 2024 now to around 21%, when it's currently trending at slightly over 27%, and there are fears that, look, we might hit the 30% mark? And I would also want you to speak to that projection, the economic growth projection now of, is it 3.7% or 3.8%? That's 3.76%.
Inflation right now is about 27, but inflation is almost 30%. The CBN has said we'll do an inflation targeting, that's their plan right now. The question I want to ask is, this inflation of 27%, what is driven by monetary factors and what is driven by, say, supply factors, i.e. the lack of food? The bulk of the Nigerian inflation is driven by the unavailability of cheap food, because source of food in Nigeria, the middle belt, northern parts, are under this bandit control. So supply of food has reduced, meaning the price has gone up, and food is 51% of the consumer price index in Nigeria. So even if you take monetary policy rates up and you're able to bring down the monetary inflation to, say, 0, let's assume you bring that to 0, you can't fix food supply by monetary means, which means unless we really take care of the insecurity in the middle belt, in the northern part of the country, you can't reduce food inflation from 30 to where it is by monetary means, which then means that if food is 51% of your CPI, you can't bring it down by only doing inflation targeting on monetary means. So I don't see how this inflation rate comes down. Let's go down to your GDP growth rate. Nigeria was projected to do 7% as at 2015. Our population growth is about 3%. So to grow at 3.7 means we're not growing at all, because we're not matching in population growth. So we should be talking of 3 or 4 or 5 or even 7. Nigeria should be doing about 6 to 7 to 8. 3.7 is what the US is doing right now. And this is a mature economy with the same trillion population. They are doing about 3% in the US. So we should be doing double them, because we have more areas to grow. If you simply give Nigerians power 24/7, you double the GDP. It's that simple, because there's lots of spare capacity in Nigeria. There's no spare capacity in the US, and they're doing 2 to 3%. So we shouldn't be talking of anything below 7 times 2 of our population growth to even have a meaningful dent. Remember, if we don't grow, we don't consume, then of course the economy cannot then pick up steam. So it's all interconnected and related.
But when you look at the growth rate, the economic growth rate of the last quarter, just around, is it 2.5% or so? Even that of last year as a whole, you begin to wonder whether the kind of the kind of growth rate that you are looking at would be achievable. Because some people have also said that, look, even at 3.76% that the government is projecting, it might be difficult to achieve.
I'm saying even if they projected 5%, it doesn't make a dent, because your population growth is about 3 or 4%. For Nigeria, it's like you have a family of 100 people. and you bring one little chicken, then you bring two little chickens. That's 100% growth in your chickens. But can you feed 100 people? You've got to grow more, faster, more aggressive. All sectors, like the Prime Minister said, all sectors have to be on full court press to grow, to feed the population, to increase consumption. The problem in Nigeria is there is no consumption. It's been flat since last year, flat. So if you can't consume in an economy, how does the economy grow? You simply can't consume. Your budget goes for fuel prices, consume, there's no extra spending. So the economy is not growing. That's really what the problem is. 3%, 4%, 5%, it's a non-starter. We're talking 7, 8, 9, 10 because of the spare capacity. That's the point I'm making.
Francis, give me your own take on this, the issue of economic growth.
The economic growth projection of 3.76, though it's not the best position Nigeria should be in, but I think the government is being realistic. Nigeria should be doing 7, 8, 9 normally. That's what we should be doing. But if we're to be realistic with our economy and the things we have ahead of us, there is no way we can do 7 with the way the economy is. We can't even do 5. Even I believe this 3.76 is too ambitious for the government. I don't think we can achieve this 3.76. Nigeria should be doing 7. But can we do 7 as it is? No, we can't. So even if we can do this 3.76 for this year, then we begin to put things in place to move it to 4.2, maybe 4.7 by 2025. Then we can begin to grow from there. But I think expecting Nigeria to do 3.7, above 4.5 is almost impossible. We know that's where we should be, but we cannot be there for now. Economies like Malaysia, Indonesia, they are doing better than us. Even the growth rate of Ghana was better than our growth rate at the time. So we need to be realistic and begin to walk from where we are to where we want to be. So this 3.76 is, to me, okay if we can achieve it. Like bringing one chicken for 10 people to share. Fine, but we can start from somewhere. If we can achieve this 3.76, I believe the government would have done well. If we can achieve it, then from there we begin to move to like 5 in 2025 budget.
All right, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for coming on the program. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places, the Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.